use going on at this present time?
Who are you talking to?
To you, Whitney.
Ask me no questions like I'm a child. Y'all want to know what I'm doing all the time. I don't give a shit about what you're doing all the time. You are so nosy, man. You don't even know what I do. Like you said, you never met me. You don't know me. You ain't been in my house. You don't live with me. You don't sleep with me. You don't do shit with me but talk about me. So watch what you say. Watch what the you say. And if I was really like back in the day in Newark, I'd meet you outside. But I'm a lady and I have a class.
When I know I was going through a lot of emotional stress and my eating habits were awful.
Whitney dying. Crack rehab fails.
First of all, let's get one thing straight. Crack is cheap. I make too much money to ever smoke crack. Let's get that straight, okay? We don't do crack. We don't do that. Crack is whack.
So Whitney Houston is back in rehab. You guys heard about this, and I know it's a collective sigh from all around the country and now the world. She's in an outpatient drug program for drugs and alcohol. RadarOnline.com is reporting that she's back to using crack cocaine. And they're saying it's pretty bad.
After years of staying quiet, Wendy Williams is finally opening up about what Whitney Houston saw before she died, and that all explains why they took Whitney out. Apparently, this is also why Wendy was thrown into a facility. She knew too much about the people who were behind Whitney's death, and they didn't want her running her mouth on TV. In fact, new receipts circulating allege that Whitney's industry godfather, if you know, you know, sacrificed her after she discovered things that she had no business knowing. No wonder he still went on to just that demonic pre-Grammys party even after Whitney's lifeless body was found in the same hotel the party was happening.
I don't know what could motivate a person to have a party in a building where the person whose life he had influenced so enormously and whose life had been affected by her. So they were like, I don't understand how that party went.
I had Clive Davis by pure chance in here on Friday.
Remember that one 2003 interview where Whitney went off on Wendy? Well, it turns out that the entire situation was way deeper than it looked. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was gagging when Whitney went off on Wendy because, baby, Wendy was doing a little too much and she had to be put in her place. She was asking Whitney very invasive questions about her marriage to Bobby Brown, her substance use, money problems, family living arrangements, and even joked about Whitney indulging in freak-offs.
You don't know what the
allowance.
You don't make me curse on the radio. I'm trying to be, come on.
Well, Steve was saying it was from about like $1,600 a week to about $500 a week.
Ask you to kiss my
Okay. He
and
also...
so can anybody else ever think I'd do that to my mother, you low down dirty...
Very defensive, Whitney.
I have to be, Wendy. You talk about me every f***ing day.
Well, Whitney...
Every other day.
Whitney, you keep yourself in the headlines.
No, Wendy, y'all keep me in the headlines. I mind my business. I try to maintain what I got. I want to know what I'm doing all the time. I don't give a shit about what you're doing all the time. As long as you're healthy and God is blessing you and you're doing the right thing and being a decent person, I can handle that.
But here's the thing, though. Apparently, Wendy was afraid that the industry was going to use Whitney's addiction to eventually end her once they were done with her, and that's why she was so hard on her. And I mean, this makes sense. When you take a look at most of the celebrities who refuse to conform to Hollywood, their personal struggles were often used against them, and when they eventually die, their cause of death is usually linked to their addiction, even when the circumstances don't match. And y'all might not know this, but just like Whitney, Wendy also had a substance problem, and she admitted it several times whenever she was talking about Whitney. She was just talking about her just to drag her. She could actually relate to Whitney and wanted her to get help before it was too late. In fact, during one segment, Wendy blatantly warned Whitney that her addiction was going to make her a liability to the executives who were investing in her career, and that if she didn't get her act together, they would be forced to get rid of her. At the time, Wendy didn't go into much detail about what she meant, but after Whitney died, everything began to make so much sense.
Well, I have. It's been many years. I can laugh about it now, too. It's the stupidest thing I ever did in my life, But I am familiar with every form of cocaine, and including crack and that whole bit. And I have to tell you that when I saw this picture right here, show that other picture of Whitney. I remember that girl, sweaty, hair in the face, grown. I remember that girl very well. I wrote the book and everything. And I can own up to my mistakes. Whitney, you need more than outpatient.
Yes.
4, I don't believe you were sober on Oprah. I don't believe that you went into rehab voluntarily this time. What I do believe is that Whitney, because I was watching Inside Edition yesterday. No, walk with me on this one, okay? On Inside Edition, they said that Whitney just signed on for Waiting to Exhale 2. Well, you know what happens with these Hollywood people. You have to be insurable.
That's right.
You know, you have to be insurable and bankable. And nobody's insuring this.
Right.
So clean it up.
That's right.
Now, unfortunately for Whitney, she didn't get the memo, and everything that Wendy predicted would happen to her ended up happening. But here's the thing, though. Whitney wasn't just taken out because she was a liability to label executives. There are a lot of artists who are liabilities to their labels too because of certain opinions they have, and they don't get their life taken because of it. Unless, of course, they find out something very damning that they had no business finding out. And according to Wendy, this is what happened with Whitney. Word on the street is that the reason Whitney was unalived was that she had found out some loopholes in her contract that her industry godfather was using to steal millions from her, and she was planning to sue him. And as if that wasn't bad enough, it's also been reported that Winfrey speculated that Whitney was exposed to the Illuminati shenanigans in Hollywood just days before her death, and she didn't like what she saw at all. Our girl wanted no parts. In fact, according to her family, Whitney was so traumatized by what she saw that she started seeking Jesus because she knew they were going to come for her life since she refused to participate in whatever they were doing. Hold on. Let's expose how evil Whitney's industry godfather is. Most of his black artists either died from a heart attack, substance OD, or a car accident, or S-side. He literally had a party going while Whitney Houston's body was lifeless. Remember Phyllis Hyman? She was getting ready to speak out, and then all of a sudden she committed S-side.
Afraid because I was so terrorized by him. Whether he meant to do it or not, I'll never know. But he sure taught me that if you try to terrorize me again, well, we can't say that on public radio. What I may do to someone who tries to hurt me again in this business, I'm not having it. I should be respected as I respect, and I will not have someone try to ruin my spirit and ruin my career. If Clive Davis, if his plan was to destroy my career, it didn't work.
But it doesn't stop there. Wendy allegedly also claimed that Whitney's death may have had something to do with the $1.5 million debt she was rumored to be owing to a substance ring on the East Coast. This rumor was actually started by private investigator Paul Hubel. Paul, a former cop who's worked high-profile celebrity cases, claims Whitney didn't just drown, she was murdered over a massive unpaid debt that she owed to East Coast dealers. According to him, these suppliers had been Whitney for weeks. The day before she died, she allegedly received a fresh delivery right there at the Beverly Hilton. Witnesses supposedly overheard her complaining, "I'm tired of this ish," right before things turned violent. Paul says 2 scruffy-looking men were caught on hotel surveillance, slipping into Whitney's entourage and entering her suite during a 45-minute window when she was completely alone. When she couldn't or wouldn't pay up, the confrontation got physical. Paul also said Whitney had defensive wounds on her body that the official autopsy glossed over. Instead of an accidental overdose and drowning, he says the thugs held her under the water until she stopped fighting, then staged the scene to look like just another tragic relapse. He turned the footage and his full dossier over to the FBI's Chicago field office, pushing for them to reopen the case as a cross-state homicide. Now, I can't confirm or deny this, but a lot of what this private investigator said checks out, and I'm going to present y'all with the evidence so you decide for yourself. First, around the time that Whitney died, it was rumored that she was going broke, so her not being able to pay a $1.5 million debt isn't so far-fetched. Not only that, even though her autopsy said she died from accidental drowning, the coroner's report said she had what seemed to be defensive wounds. The report said, and I quote, "Whitney's assistant, Mary Jones, found her face down in a water-filled bath with 2 superficial abrasions to the left side of her forehead. She was also found with a red fluid purge coming from her nose and with a superficial abrasion to the left side of the bridge of her nose."
They said there was nothing wrong with her throat. Her lungs were so damaged that she couldn't fuel the notes It was her lungs. It wasn't. Her voice was fine.
Oh.
That's how Clive did it. And then the next thing you know, she's fucking Ray J. And then it's Grammy time.
That happened.
And her and Clive had a fight 2 days before. And from what I was told, Bobby Christina was present for some of that fight. And then the next thing you know, she's dead. Ray J was the last person to see her alive. He let the drug dealer in, but she was sober, right? But he let the drug dealer in that gave her the shot. Leo.
And while we are on the topic of Bobby Brown, he also said some shady things that further proved to people that Whitney may not have just died from accidental drowning. Oh, and let's not forget that video of Whitney crushing an interview Brandy was having with Monica and her industry godfather and secretly giving her a letter. Anyway, going back to Wendy, people believe that the things she knew are what probably landed her in a facility in order to silence her. And even though it worked for a while, it doesn't look like she'll be staying quiet for much longer. Essentially, since she is rumored to be making an appearance on daytime television again after her guardianship case is settled. And when it comes to what Whitney saw, the exact details haven't been given beyond the fact that it was related to Illuminati rituals. But baby, whatever it was, Wendy will waste no time telling us once she gets out of that guardianship. In the meantime, people had some thoughts like this person who said, Whitney fought for her life. Her hotel room was a mess, a broken TV on the floor, and stuff everywhere. Whitney was found beaten and bruised in the bathtub with a severe cut that split her lip. What they did not find in the room, nor in her body, were substances. Nothing. No one could or would ever touch Whitney without her godfather's blessing or orders. She was his biggest investment to date. I believe her godfather definitely gave the order, and he's the one who benefits the most from her death. Another person said, Whitney Houston did substances, but she was clean at the time of her death, viciously and savagely beaten by two men who dumped her dead body into the hotel room's bathtub. Mind you, Whitney never took baths in hotel bathrooms, and her record comes by avoiding paying $100 million to her. But now I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about Wendy exposing what Whitney saw before she died? And do you think Whitney was really taken out because she saw and knew too much? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to click here to watch this other messy video.